Hi there, it's me, Gamatara here. I'm recapping My Hero Academia Season 8, Episode 2, total episode 165. The end of an era and the beginning. Despite the eventful life he's led up to now, All Might believes his origin consisting of precious moments such as meeting Alpha Man, books as a little boy on his patio while singing the Alpha Man march, while his mother laughed and sung along with him, was a simple one that anyone could have started off with. As he thinks on his life, what he's done until now, he looks back on the path he left in his wake, and spots several lights of something just as small and precious, but much, much more significant when explained closer. In the present, the man and Stain take advantage of the opening the villain made using Blood Curdle, showing them the takedown of All Might, All for One. Back then at Ground Zero, Stain, after commanding Shoto and Ignium's heroic dedication of stopping Dabi, by all means, he was able to reduce All Might was in trouble based on his eavesdropping of their conversation. He then hopped on his glider and rejected the steps to where he retired hero. And the villain fought and was able to scout and sniff out an unusable sample of All Might's All for One's split blood on a broken chunk of concrete to use his quirk on. Almost immediately afterwards, he spotted Can't Stop Twinkling firing off in the distance. As the two men close in, Stan knows All Might would understand the significance of someone like him putting himself in the open like this. As like he said to All Might in their conversation back at Ground Zero, if God like him were to bear the soul of the mortal, then he must bear the struggle to keep on living. Sin is here to help that be realized. And as he readies his katana, and All Might cocks his armored fist, the ex-hero acknowledges that, to their horror, their two clean hits were interrupted as a fountain of blood billows from all for One's body, thanks to him using Force Quirk activation to trigger Bloodlet, which flushes every last filter of blood out of the body of the boy's body. All for One yells at Stain, calling him by his real name. He expected him to show up, as he was only inmate from the Tartarus breakout, who merely escaped on his own terms instead of following him. Stain tries to lick the expelled blood to paralyze him again, but is quickly vised by a mouth morphing out of his spiked shoulder growth. All for One tells him that it won't work, since he swapped his blood type with Anti-Gen Swap, and all of that fluid he dumped out of his body has made his energy spark back. All Might screams for a Stain as he dives in to try and help, but All for One tosses the villain through several blocks with the buildings and into a large sign before flying towards him in an instant. All for One declares that he'll still blood curl for himself, and remembers that Hero Killer was a big part of the League of Villains development, especially Tomura's. He then tells the man that his role is drawing to his close, well, hypothetically calling Stain a murderer. Stain has no energy left to fight and can only wheeze out of pain and exhaustion as he spots All Might flying towards him in desperation through his clouded vision. In his labored breath, Stain cranes his head and tells All for One that his role doesn't end and that everything is a process. Satan reaches to the sky and cups his battered hands and says that while he never took the path of higher education, watching the number one hero in the action for all these years has taught the man everything about what a true hero should be. In his dying breath, Stan tells All Might to live on and win the fight, as All for One crushes his body with a single punch and absorbs blood curdle before he can finish saying his hero's name. All for One then turns back and fires a laser at his archenemy before it suddenly blocked by the remains of Hercule's armor. The AI finishes the hero killer's words as it too is obliterated. All Might is unfortunately swallowed by the aftershock. A battered and bloodied All Might, bearing eyes without his shadow, and his first time in years. Hallucination Nana crying out to him for a white void, encouraging her successor to keep fighting as the story he's in still needs to be told. He then sees Sir Night Eye looking down at him with a pensive expression, admits to himself that he can no longer fight. Saturcle's assistant and his armored All Might have been reduced to scrap, and his legs being crushed and rendered feeble. All Might slowly comes out back to reality as he wakes up on the filthy road with rain pouring down and his defeated state. Although his body is past his limits, he grits his teeth and keeps his spirit burning, fueled by his promise in Inko to take care of Izuku, and another promise that he made that same to the boy to keep fighting in grand fate that was spelled out to him, so he can see his successor grow and take the mantle he's been working tirelessly for. All Might says that he's not dead yet and uses his remaining energy to flip himself into his stomach and stare All for One dead in the eye, goading him to come down here. What a opportunity ripe to waste his long-time adversary. The young villain puts it on hold to look out at the shoreline as he gleefully watches the smoke inch closer to the ground, while Deku continues to hold back Tomura in the giant whirlwind. Both combatants kicked up at the coffin in the sky. The last remaining twice doubles begin to disappear. The Mai declares that they're now light and stable enough to keep the structure airborne. However, the situation still worsened as one of the Nomosas men alert the detective that All for One has reached the main minimum range to use warping on Tomura. The one prepares to teleport Tomura directly to himself, and by forcibly giving his prodigy the massive amounts of reproduced quirks in his own body, he will turn his successor into a being that far surpasses his own strength. All Might crawls closer and tries shouting for the boy to come get him to stall for more time. But All for One is much too focused on the main goal to care. He says Deku needs to be out of their way in order to pull the mass transfer off. So All for One beckons for his prodigy to come to him as he activates warping, and the disgusting sludge spews out of Tomura's mouth. How Tomura rejects the transfer and swallows the fluid down as he theoretically tells the master not to interrupt the fight. All for One just looks at him flatly, acknowledging that the man has fully regained consciousness of his body. A wide observed smile then crawls across his cheeks as he flies down to the road to answer All Might's desperate call. With the better ex-hero flashing a similar grin back at him. Shortly after, Futo and Ronaldo freeze up and shriek in terror as their eyes and cell phones catch something flying towards the school. All for One, with a devilish grin, holding All Might by the back of his knee as the man's body helplessly flaps around in the wind. The villain can barely keep himself together as he tells All Might that he's about to take responsibility for showing the youth his futile dream. From afar, Tomura notices the display and eggs Deku to let him go so the boy can run off to save his idol. And his newly acquired spare time can be spent on murdering all the people who fought him on the coffin in the sky. While Deku keeps his hold, he gets an eyeful of the mutilated body of his master and hero, and shudders as the memory of him promising to twist fate alongside All Might rushes to his mind. He clenches his teeth and struggles to hold back tears at the sight and feels the vengeance vestige of the All Might inside. All for one. One for all. So fading the sparks before he can hoarsely whisper his name in his ruined form. All Might thinks about the first day they met, when the then middle schooler asks if it's possible to become a hero, even if he doesn't have a quirk. While he said the opposite back then, All Might goes back to the answer now. So he knows Ezekiel pushes himself to the fullest when it comes to everything he throws himself into that says that the boy isn't the type to fully abandon his dream. All Might then says he can't abandon his own dream of being a symbol of peace either, as he reaches out and wraps his arms around all for One's shoulders with a black, desperate stare on his face. All for One then flinches as the action gives him flashbacks of the normal battle with Nana, and remembers what she told him before he killed her. He was going to be invisibly defeated by All Might down the line. And she feels that her successor is crazier than she is. Suddenly, a piece of armor of All Might's now exposed left forearm begins to glow bright orange. The man prepares to go out as a suicide bomb, with the hopes that the resulting explosion will generate All for One back to around the age preschooler. As he thinks back on what he's left behind, All for One cuts All Might's noble sacrifice for it by skewing his arm with a few spear-like bones, shutting out the device. He then grabs All Might by the throat and his left arm and paralyzes him with a blood curdle using the bloody reducer on his right hand. He knows full well how scary wounded heroes can be. He's not going to get sloppy, giving the retired man any room to accomplish anything. Fully drained and truly out of options, All Might's eyes widen from bewilderment as he aimlessly shudders and rush of amphibia. All for One feels from the look on his face reaches such a high that the smile he made his mouth tears open the skin muscles in his mouth and stretches up his eye line. While Baba asks Gentle to help All Might know now that UA is stable. But before he can leave, All for One blows tunnel into the levitation system and totals it, forcing the man to maintain his hold on the school. Star and Stripe X-66 flight squadron then dives down to prepare a laser barrage on the villain, but he quickly slices the planes in two and sends them tumbling to the ruined city. All for One maniacally lifts the former number one hero's body up in the air for the world to see clearly, as All Might's loved ones, fellow heroes, and countless people he's saved and inspired. Everyone's on the planet watch as what slowly unfolds appears to be the grisly end for the man and the era he ushered in. In these few precious seconds, Deku instantly reaches up to his teacher as Nomosa shuts his eyes, buried his face in his fists, and silently begs for someone to save his longtime friend. as if some prayers were answered, and then there a colossal bright explosion bursts atop the plummeting wreck of the coffin in the sky from the frizzling light. Great explosion, murder, God, dynamite looks out, bloodied and sparked of his explosive sweat trickling down, but unquestionably alive and clutching the trading card he's always wanted as All Might decide. Deku looks up at his friend and gasps, of tears spraying out of his eyes as Dynamite stares right back at him. When All Might looks back at the precious lights, he leaves behind the life. Behind the life, he sees two of them being cheerfully waved around and marveled by a young Izuku and Katsuki as the lights shape himself into the part of those same All Might trading cards. They mutually unwrapped one afternoon, while the end of the All Might era still treks on. A new beginning for him, and everyone is instantly born. Thanks to those two, as it seems the story of the number one hero won't end in despair. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. Help reach 1,000 plus subscribers. Watching videos like this one fully helps increase the watch hours of 4,000 plus, and help fund the videos by donating monthly on the Patreon page or one-time donation on the Ko-Fi page. Have a blessed day. See you next video visit. But for now, bye!